I see where they're coming from. Like when you look at some of the CV workouts that like Tin Man first brought through that other coaches are now using, or some of the original Daniels stuff on the interval side, he has bigger interval recoveries. I actually like, especially for more amateur athletes who don't have a lot of volume, to keep that recovery short, because it forces you to actually pace and it gives you actually more time at max VO2. So if you think about an interval session, let's say you've got 5 by 3 minutes at interval pace, right? If you watch how Daniels describes this, he says you really only get to max VO2 for maybe say the last minute of the first one, okay? And then if you take 3 minutes recovery, you're not fully back to rest, but let's just say colloquially, you're back to rest, right? So then it takes you another 2 minutes to get up, right? So of those 3 minutes times 5 on full recovery, you only get like 5 minutes at or around max VO2. Whereas if we shorten that recovery, your heart rate doesn't come down as much. So you get more each rep. You actually get more time in each rep at max VO2. So your cumulative time at max VO2 is bigger on shorter recovery. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
And then secondarily, from a demands of racing perspective, it's like, well, you don't get 3 minutes of recovery in a 5K, right? Like you don't get to do that. And so it gives you a little bit more of the demands of the race. Now, one could make the argument against what I just said and be like, well, then why don't we time trial the whole time? It's like, well, yeah, that's also not productive to what you're going to do. And then the third piece I would say on those intervals is, they're quite repetitive, as I said, and I see what you did or Claude did, right? It's like kind of the Norwegian 4x4, 5x4, 3 minutes recovery. But what I find happens, and we'll say this about the tempo stuff here in a minute, is when you have really repeatable workouts, athletes will want to chase to prove improvement, right? So it's like week 5, week 6, it's like, oh, I want to really see if this is working and it's improving, right? So I'm going to use those 3 minute repeats, be like, well, I know I did them at 6:45 miles a couple of weeks ago, so maybe I can squeeze them to 6:40, right? Well, then what happens is you're not actually doing the workout for the purpose of the workout, you're just racing, right? And so you're trying to prove something. So I said this a while back on an episode where it's like, or I said it on the marathon podcast, actually, it's like you're pulling the carrots up to see if they're ready, and the problem is like you can't replant them after, right? So what happens when we start chasing is we lose sight of the purpose of the workout. And that's where I find most people get injured, burnt out, feel like they're not improving. So then they throw the whole plan out halfway through and then they're trying to reset and do everything. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.